The war in West Asia is growing bigger by the day, be it the drone attack on Azerbaijan or be it the targeting of Iranian ship by US and so much more, which is unfolding every minute, every hour across. But when we talk about India's extended neighborhood and the chaos that is up there, it is not the only thing that India is worried about. India is worried about itself also, because India only has a limited stock of oil and majority of oil coming from our extended neighborhood is stuck. We don't know how much this will last, how long this will last, and we need to find a way through it. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to talk about this limited stock of oil that we have and why is that a big concern for India and it needs to be addressed immediately. So when we are talking about India's reserve, as of now we are sitting on 100 million barrels of oil. You might think, ma'am, this is a big number. Why are we worried? We are worried because this is it. We don't have more incoming for a very long time. And we need to reshuffle, rearrange our sources where we might be able to get more. So let us start with the single point of understanding the problem where it is beginning. Because this problem is not about limited oil, but the question is why it is limited. It is limited because the Strait of Hormuz, which is pretty much at the center of the war which is unfolding as of now. So when we are talking about Strait of Hormuz, you can clearly see it is the one which connects Persian Gulf to Gulf of Oman. Then that gives you entry into Arabian Sea and then Indian Ocean. Now this is at the best a 33-kilometer stretch. If you want to understand the problem, we have to understand that why we have limited stock. We have limited stock because one of the biggest sources are going to be blocked because Strait of Hormuz is closed. It has not been officially announced, but any passage through it, because on this very day, a US ship which was trying to cross Iran has targeted that. So when we are looking at Strait of Hormuz, it is the water body which connects Persian Gulf to Gulf of Oman. Then Gulf of Oman is connected to Arabian Sea and then we have Indian Ocean. Now when we are talking about this stretch, it is maximum 54 kilometer at the narrowest point. And if you see in the given map itself, the shipping lane here is limited. Now, Iran has always used this very choke point and it has always threatened that we are going to close it. But why Iran is threatening that they will close this point? They are threatening so because they know 20% of global oil supply goes from here. 33% of LPG goes through here. That means any disruption here, it is going to affect this and there will be a global oil crisis. That means the prices will start increasing and Iran knows that. Iran knows that this is going to increase the burden on other countries to stop this closure and Iran uses it as a leverage. And in this very condition where Iran is going left, right and center, attacking all the US allies and making sure that there is enough pressure to dissuade US from the war, Iran is not going to leave this. Now the movement through Strait of Hormuz is pretty much restricted and because of that the oil shipment through this is also limited or non-existent as of now. So that is why the Strait of Hormuz closure is of great concern for India, because for a country which is 88% import dependent in terms of oil, gets majority of oil from this particular lane. Now that this is closed, it is hugely threatened. When we are talking about major exporters, you get to see we do not have only UAE here, we have Saudi Arabia and many other countries. So all these exporters and importers like us, India, are going to be threatened. And that is why this is a big concern. Now, adding another layer to the concern is the very fact here that India is not only oil dependent. The problem here is that our daily consumption is almost 5.6 million barrels per day. And if we are talking about global consumption, for a country like India, we are already taking more than 5%. Now, if you go by this very number, you will also get to see that in recent times, the dependence on Russian oil has increased, but we have promised that we will reduce that. So, our major contributors, if you look by the last year's number, remain Saudi, Iraq, and then we have others. Again, both of these countries dependent on Strait of Hormuz. So, the numbers are big, the stakes are higher, especially in the context of Strait of Hormuz. And if we are looking at this very number, we have to understand that it is not just the crude imports, but the LNG imports which come from Qatar, they also use the very same route. So, 40% of our crude imports, almost 88 to 89% we are dependent, half of it stuck, 54% of LNG also stuck because it comes through the same route. Now, you will ask, okay, additional it is not coming. What is the present scenario? Let us talk about the present scenario. Our present scenario is 100 million barrels. That is our current oil reserve. If we look at the total oil stock, you will be able to understand that we have two big components here. First, in terms of how much we have at strategic petroleum reserves. So, as of now, we have three major petroleum reserves which are existing sites. First, we have Visakhapatnam. Second, we have Bangalore. Third, we have Padur, which is in Karnataka. Now, when we are talking about these three existing sites, recently Government of India last year only announced that they will add 2 more sites, but they are not functional. Second site, again phase 2 in Padur, and the other one in Chandikhol, Odisha. Now, the problem here is that these are upcoming. We only have 3 existing sites. Now, these 3 existing strategic petroleum reserve only have the capacity of 39 million barrels. We want to extend it, but as of now, that extension has not been fulfilled. Apart from that, when we talk about the second component of oil stock, we have commercial storage, which is maintained by oil companies, which is present in refineries and tank farms, and they are maintained by companies such as Indian Oil Corporation, Bharat Petroleum Commercial Limited, HPCL, etc. And third component, oil in stock, which we are talking, is oil in transit. That means the crude that has already been loaded on tankers and it is coming to India, it is towards India already. So, here we have to understand that when we are talking about 100 million barrels, almost 40% is present in strategic petroleum reserves. Rest is in commercial storage and oil in transit. Now, the question is, ma'am, 100 million barrels, look, as I started with that question, that 100 million barrels looks like a big number. What is the problem? The problem here is with the data I showed you in the starting, when we were talking about daily consumption, that is 5.6 million barrels per day. Now, in this context, if we move ahead and do the calculation right in front of us, 100 divided by 5.6, we barely have 17 to 18 days to totally consume what we have at. But obviously, we know that we are in a crisis situation. So, even if government takes regard of that and brings in the domestic production, keeps it with themselves, oil shipments which are already at sea and they might come up to us, and the imports that we have open, if we take that in consideration, we might be able to extend this number by double. It might become 40 to 45 days if we continue to use it 5.6 million barrels per day, but that's it. So, we need this situation solved at least in 40 to 45 days. Otherwise, our country might not have any single drop of oil left, and which is basically like shutting down the economy in itself. Now, I hope this is the place where we understand the gravity of the problem, that why even though the war is going on somewhere else, we have a bigger issue at our hand and we need to resolve it as soon as possible in ways because we don't know how long this can be extended. Russia-Ukraine war still going on. So what do we know and how do we solve it? What can be done? This should be where we should be looking at. So now what India can do here is ensure that diversification of oil resources, and it is focused upon immediately. We have already increased our imports from Russia, United States. Russia up and until last year, but we have vowed that we will put it down, we'll gradually phase it out, but we can depend towards other countries so as to ensure. US not the most probable one, but it has big oil reserves, and in this context a war economy like US might need some exports. Furthermore, we also have to fast track the expansion of strategic petroleum reserves. The planned strategic petroleum reserves, especially at Chandikhola and Padur, they cannot be left as a long-term plan. They have to taken up in short-term sprint, especially in the given global landscape where wars are breaking out faster than pandemics. So in this situation, we have to ensure that this is something that is fast-tracked. Other than that, we have to, for the long term, ensure that our oil dependence decreases. Because if you are talking about present oil stock that we have, that is only for 40 to 45 days at best. But as the global norm, it should be for 90 days. So we need to bring up our strategic petroleum reserves to definitely 150 million barrels, and this will also help in emergency. But in the regular days, we need to focus on better alternatives which helps us in reducing oil dependence. So what we are trying to do? We are trying to cut off the demand, that we use oil lesser and lesser, but whatever is the requirement for that, we maintain a strategic buffer. In short, we need to bring in India's energy security, but at the same time, we cannot compromise with its strategic autonomy. Because if we do, as of now, we see a huge impact on India's economy because of this disruption, and this impact is not going away in future if we do not address it now. When we are talking about oil prices rising 100 to 120 barrel, huge increase. This will lead to inflation. This increased price is going to reflect in your consumption. It is going to hurt your pocket. Apart from that, this will create increased import bill. That means forex will reduce. That means rupees, our currency, will be pressurized and it will depreciate. So if we do not want micro as well as macro impact to be seen, we need to address it on an urgent basis and ensure long-term energy security. Now in this very context, the last thing that I want to discuss here is, the last thing I would like to highlight here is in form of question. Can you give me suggestions in terms of way forward other than the ones we have talked about, that how India can ensure strategic autonomy while not compromising on India's energy security and vice versa? Now that was all from my side. Thank you so much.